Hello everybody, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and today I would like to share something that I have technically already unboxed. Um, I recorded this once already with a whole lot of incorrect information. I pulled information off of the retailer that I bought it from, which was Blade HQ. Bad on their part because they should have updated some stuff if it's even possible to do that on existing listings. I'm not too sure how it works. Not the end of the world by any means. Anyway, so I spent some time kind of going back and forth thinking about what I'm actually going to say about this. But I have a lot of negative, honestly, on this thing, and I regret buying it. It will be returned immediately, unfortunately. So this is a Boker Plus knife. You guys know that Boker Plus is the Chinese production side. They do stuff in Italy. They do stuff in the US, I think. A couple things in the US, and then some stuff in Germany as well. So again, I have been into this, just playing around with it for a little bit. I've had it for like less than 3 hours, honestly, during the recording of this video. Anyway, this is the Boker Plus Canoe. It's a very attractive little knife, and it is quite little. Nice little pouch that it comes with, a hard little box as well with some candy right there. This is like the soft fuzzy lined. It has 3 different pockets. This is a pretty good pouch for like taking stuff with you when you go on trips and things like that. Anyway, let's talk about the knife, right? Beautiful design, wonderful shape. The silhouette, gorgeous. But you guys know I prefer knives that are on the smaller side. Medium to small, medium, however you'd like to look at it. And this is definitely something that is small, quite small. I have large to extra large size hands, but slim fingers. I can get a 4-finger grip on this and have my thumb resting on the spine of the blade. One of the negatives I want to start with, I'm going to go ahead and basically go from the tip all the way to the rest of it. So, the tip, it is just the tiniest bit to the show side scale, the right side scale. It can be centered, most likely. You can actually feel the tip. If I actually go like this, I could feel the very tip snag onto my skin right there. It's not enough to actually pull it out. And the detent on this is actually well executed, pretty well executed. I do definitely enjoy the fit and finish of the detent and everything surrounding it. But that's a little safety concern, right? It's not the end of the world. After a sharpening or 2, you'll lose some material and you won't even have to think about it. But that's just something that I personally believe is worth mentioning. Now, looking at the rest of the blade, this is the grossest, most disgusting stone wash finish I have ever seen. It is absolutely lazy. It does not deserve the title of a stone wash finish. It looks like a belt satin that was thrown on the ground and just kicked around and then strapped to the back of a 2006 Prius and then just dragged around for a while. So it's not really nice whatsoever. It's a satin with a semi stone wash over it. You can only really see it in certain angles, and it's just really cheap. That is just a personal preference. But, me personally, I love stonewash when it's done well. This is the worst stonewash I have ever seen. We'll get into the price and other things like that, really just to tell you guys like why this is an absolute no-go for me and why this is probably going to be the least recommendable knife for like everything I've checked out this year, which is honestly kind of disappointing. Because I saw this knife at the beginning of the year and I just put it off because I had money going elsewhere. The branding on the blade, I don't mind it. It's laser etched in there. There is a number right there, so 122. So I didn't make too many of these. I'm pretty sure this is an actual like numbered unit. It's not just like some random sequence of number. It is an S35EN. I don't know the heat treatment on this. Boker is not known for their heat treatment. They're kind of just meh. Nothing spectacular, nothing that is severely underperforming. This is the designer. I believe his first name is Joe. So that's all the branding there. The studs, I'm pretty sure the studs are steel. They could be titanium. I'm not too sure. I have not taken them off or messed with them. Again, I'm going to return this, so I'm not going to mess with them or mar them up with any pliers or crap like that. The blade stock thickness, it is way too thick, absolutely too thick. And at a certain point, there are some designs that, while small and compact and thick, they are charming and there is a space for them in the hobby. This, not so much. Let me show you guys a wonderful example of basically a folding pry bar. Cuts like shit, but it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And it's the only reason why it stayed in my collection, because it's a beautiful knife. This is my Monterey Bay knives. What's it called? The Sea Otter right here. It has customized a lot. It's an older unit. I think it came from the first run of when they started doing things in Magna Cut. I've put maybe 2 edges on this thing personally. Like after getting it, I did get this on the secondary market, so it has been well used and well loved. But now that it's in my possession, I don't really use it. I take it out to flip it every once in a while and then put it away and don't use it because I gravitate towards other stuff. But I'm still thankful to have this in the collection. So as you can see, super robust, unnecessarily robust, but you know what, it's one of the charming things about the Sea Otter, right? And if we go ahead and compare these two in thickness, they are exactly the same in actual thickness overall, including scales. Now blade stock thickness, I will say that the Sea Otter is just a smidge thicker, not by much. And the Canoe here, Boker plus Canoe, has a little bit more finishing work done to it. Things are a little bit softer, which is nice. Really, the only thing that is actually good about the blade itself is the execution of the jimping. Beautiful, beautiful jimping. This is jimping I wish I had on so many other knives. And that's really disappointing to say because, like, if Boker can do good jimping, like, I would expect the same from a lot of other brands, but I just don't see this level, this quality of jimping. It's a medium traction, but it looks good while actually being useful, which is quite nice. And the space, it's not just like this tiny little space all the way back here where you're never going to interact with it. It's further up. So while there is no like actual forward grip on this particular design, where your thumb lands, it's perfect. It's in a good spot. It really is. So there's that. So blade finish is shit. It's way too thick for how short the actual height is. The sharpening from the factory, there is already a smile right there. The sharpening trowel and plunge grind is horrendous. It is just ridiculously thick. Put one aftermarket edge on there, sharpen it once yourself, or even have it professionally sharpened. Guaranteed a professional sharpener would still not be able to keep from a smile happening on this. And honestly, I cut a couple pieces of paper and 1 sheet of cardboard, and it actually cuts really well, but that's because the actual edge itself is extremely sharp, and it's actually really good coming from the factory, which is very impressive. I didn't have the biggest hope for this coming from Boker. I haven't handled many things from Boker, but a couple things that I have, they've usually been letdowns, especially for the money. So we can go ahead and talk about that. This is $181.95, I believe, during the recording of this video. That is so overpriced. Even if you told me that the blade was heat treated to the most optimal range, that still wouldn't be enough for me. If it was thinned out, the sharpening choil was done how it should be, and it had a real stone wash, or you know what, screw the stone wash, just leave it as a belt satin. Just leave it alone. I hate satin, but again, it's just a personal subjective thing. It's just a visual preference, right? But leave it as a satin. Even still, 181 bucks, that's way too much. That this is a very, very overpriced item. I'm not okay with it whatsoever. You do have some very thick slabs of titanium here that are already anodized. Speaking about other anodized parts, you do have a titanium clip, and the little quarter length backspacer is also titanium. It's like a bronze. It's very well finished. The only thing that, well, a couple things I have to say about the actual finish of the titanium itself. They stone washed the titanium, and it's very inconsistent. I don't like how it looks at all. It's horrible. On the lock bar side, it's a little bit tighter grained. It looks a lot better, a little bit more cohesive. But on the show side, the side that you're really going to be looking at, I wanted to take pictures of this thing. You know, when you go to appreciate, you know, something that you bought, this is probably the side you're going to be looking at the most. It's ugly. It really is. You can also see in most lights the actual milling lines, and you can see like the swirls of the actual milling pattern. So it is flat, and I hope my camera is actually capturing it, but that is awful. That is absolutely terrible. So that is a very poor finishing job. So poor finishing job on the titanium, poor finishing job on the blade itself, just very lazy. It doesn't feel like this is an item that they took a lot of time in. Also talking about some of the hardware, it's T8 for the pivot on both sides. It is not captured. It is free spinning, which is very unfortunate. It is a steel pivot. All the hardware is steel, which is unfortunate. I thought it was titanium, and at that price point, I'd expect it to be titanium, and it's not. What else? You have a little lanyard hole. It's cool. The hardware, these are actually, instead of having a piece to meet up in there, they're actually Chicago styled. So there's your T6 through there, and there's the end of one of them, and then the other one sits right behind the clip. And then you have these two regular silver finished T6 screws. I don't know why they weren't finished the same color, just to kind of color match. They're steel, as is the rest of the hardware. The clearance for most pant material, it should be fine. The clip is recessed into the scales, and it's actually well milled, but the screws actually do kind of get in the way. Also, where the clip sits, as you're pulling it out of your pocket, I do feel it's snagging against these relief cuts for the frame lock here, and it is kind of sharp. Also, the actual cut for the frame lock itself, it feels very unfinished. It's not super snaggy, but it feels sharp. It feels pretty darn crisp, so that is something I definitely do not like. There's no internal milling, and I don't really expect there to be. It's a very small knife, but even still, there could have been. What really interested me in this knife after crapping on it for basically 13 minutes straight is I thought the action was going to be completely different than anything I've ever experienced from a Chinese OEM, because this said on the listing on Blade HQ that it had washers, and I've never experienced a Chinese OEM washer knife. Maybe one or two that I just can't remember off the top of my head. But this has bearings, actually. So it has bronze cage ceramic bearings and a very large ceramic detent ball. There's also a hardened steel insert, and there's the little screw for it. It has an over travel stop, so that's nice as well. Zero detent lash, but it does feel just a tiny bit mushy if you almost try to just pull it out a little bit. It just, instead of being super sharp and crisp, it kind of feels like it kind of mushes out. But it actually flicks pretty good. The studs are well placed. They're in a good spot. They feel good, nice and well stepped, grabbing onto your thumb skin. Reverse flick is also very easy. This isn't a very lock bar sensitive knife, and even being as small as it is pretty easy to manipulate for the most part. It is pretty drop shutty out of the box. I did actually put a little bit of KPL. I put KPL heavy in here because I wanted to kind of tighten things up, stiffen things a little bit, just to see if I can get kind of a more stiffer, more controlled, just interaction overall. And I don't know, this really isn't for me. So yeah, I wanted to share with you guys that as it is currently, there are many things to this that I would change. I think this has so much potential. The things that I do love about it are, I love how it looks. It's a beautiful shape, but I think it needs to be blown up by about 20%, putting it into a medium size. To some people, maybe even an entry level, like larger full size knife, possibly. What else? Gimping is beautiful. The blade stock thickness, it could stay the same, but maybe put a hollow grind on it. That'd be cool, just to help with, sliciness. So you can keep the thickness of it. If you blow it up overall, make it a little bit larger. At this price point, $180 after taxes and all that, it's a $200 knife essentially. I would expect all the hardware to at least be all titanium. That would be nice. If it was still T6 for the body screws, I mean, I'd understand that. That is something that is very common in this price territory in the market. What else? I would definitely make a D-shaped pivot if you still want to have the look to where it's both T8s on each side. That's fine if that's really the designer's choice, but I would have definitely recommended to have a D-shaped pivot. So it just would have been easier for disassembly and basic maintenance, things like that. That's kind of a standard, kind of a no-brainer there. The relief cut needs to be on the inside, so it's nice and smooth in and out of the pocket. The screws need to be recessed, or at least the height of the actual clip needs to be bumped up just a tiny bit. I'm talking like maybe like 20-30% of what the height is already. Just bump it up a little bit and probably bring that bill down just a tad bit. To some people, I'm sure that could be a hot spot. To me, not so much. This is such a small knife in the hand, it doesn't really feel like anything. I don't really feel it there, but I'm sure some people that might be a little bit of hot spot because it does stick up quite a bit. Also, yeah, that clip, it's a little crisp right there. So honestly, for $181, floating just under $200, or however you want to look at it, this is absolutely a no-go. Way overpriced. The quality, fit and finish is horrendous, and yeah, this was definitely a huge letdown. So that's honestly really unfortunate. This pattern, this shape overall, has so much potential if it was just done by Tuya, Kubi, I don't know, Artisan Cutlery. Who else? You know what? We would probably be able to do this in a larger form, and it'd probably float around like 230, around there, because there's no crazy inlays, there's nothing super fancy about it. It's really just the pattern, it's the shape itself. If there was a super crazy fancy finish on it, then maybe there'd be some variation in price between certain I guess colorways that they'd go with. You guys know how We works. We Knife Co. They come out with one design in like 20 different colors or patterns with different inlays and stuff like that. Even different blade materials, which is cool. Most of them are overpriced, but to each their own. But this is something that I absolutely do not recommend. I'd stay the hell away from this. Do not waste your hard-earned money on this. I will be packing this up and requesting to get a refund from Blade HQ. I don't blame them for this at all, but even still, you know, every once in a while you catch something on their listings. It's like, oh, that's not right. This is supposed to have washers, and that's another thing too. If I were to redo this and, you know, have some sort of part in recreating a 2.0 version of this, there's so much that I would actually leave quite the same, just maybe make it a little bit larger and just fine tune a couple little things, and maybe you can justify that price. But for what it is, the way that it sits now, it's an absolute no-go. Just don't get it. Don't bother with it. So that's, you know, very unfortunate. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this little video. If you guys did, go ahead and leave a like down below. If you are subscribed, I most definitely appreciate all your patience and support, of course. If you are not subscribed, consider subscribing, because I have plenty more videos and content coming you guys' way. With that being said, have a wonderful rest of your day.